Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels and short stories. And with me today is Sam West. Hello, Sam.
Hello.
Today we're going to be talking about Dimension Door.
A door from another dimension, perhaps? Or just a door that takes you through dimensions?
Whoa.
Wow. That smells sweet.
Mind blown. All right. Am I to understand you are a fan of this spell?
Yeah, Dimension Door is sick. This is one of my personal favorites. It's kind of this in my book is like as good as a utility spell can get as far as the spell level and what all it accomplishes, while simultaneously not being something that just removes elements of play from the game in a lot of ways. And that's kind of what I ask for and then my utility spells. And that's what I like about this so much.
All right. Well, let's start with it's a teleportation spell, and going against spells like there's Misty Step, Dimension Door, Teleport, Teleportation Circle. What are some other ones? Does Gate count? I forgot what Gate does.
Gate counts as much as Teleport does.
Yeah,
the big two are Dimension Door and Misty Step as far as just like instantaneous movement on a battle map for the most part. This is like one of those, and even like navigating an environment. This is sort of where that teleportation magic lands to me. The broader scope ones like Teleport and Gates and stuff, those are typically moving across planes. That's typically moving to anywhere on the plane. So they're more of travel spells. I think of them more as like reframing how the scope of the gameplay. Like you're going from playing in the Marvel Phase 1 to where we're currently at with multiple universes and thousands of different characters and different versions of those characters. That's kind of the different where we're at. Dimension Door very comfortably fits in we're in the material plane. We're exploring some weird giant castles and some underground mines and caverns and killing dragons.
Yeah, it's got a range of 500 feet, which is big, but it's not.
It is large. Yes.
It's not going to France or anything.
No, but it will take you deep onto the earth should you desire to. You shouldn't desire to because you'll probably die, but it will take you deep into the earth if you'd like. The mean, like comparing this with Misty Step, they're pretty night and day. This is a lot of the teleportation at a pretty steep cost, the steep cost being a 4th level slot in an action, which in combat is a lot. The reason Misty Step is typically pretty good is because it's a free teleporting 30-foot move. This is a action for a 500-foot move. And I don't want to say one's better than the other because they kind of serve somewhat different purposes. Out of combat, though, this is just an upgrade. This is we can go from teleporting, into that window we can see into to I don't need to see where in that castle up there we're teleporting to. Worst case scenario, I get shunted 10 feet from the stairs into the hallway and we're good to go. That's where I think the spell's utility really shines. It being 4th level too means you're actually gated by the number of uses you get to some reasonable degree. You can't like with Misty Step, you can not be the most upset if you need to cast use 3rd level slots for it, and you'll have a bunch of 3rd level or 2nd level slots to use for it. You'll have, even again as you need to, you can keep using upper levels. With this starting at 4th, you're going to get a lot less uses out of it. So plans involving teleportation become a little bit more. We have a few uses of these. We can't get everyone in necessarily all the time. We still need to, if you're going to teleport to the top of the mountain, you have to throw a rope down. We still have to navigate and explore environments to find ways to sort of use the teleportation effectively. And that's where I think teleportation is at its best. As far as a fun perspective.
What do you... oh, shucks.
You're good. Oh, shucks, indeed.
What are some of the primary... I mean, you've mentioned a couple of ways. What are some primary ways you use this? All right, let's start with in combat.
Sure. So let's say we're in initiative and we're punching people to death. This is going to be a spell that will be used very efficiently on very few battle maps, but on the ones that it is, you will be like, thank God we had Dimension Door. Dimension Door lets you, as long as a person is conscious, and because that means they have to be willing, so you have to have a conscious person, you can get anyone out of any situation you can touch. So let's say your paladin bit off just way more than they can chew. You can be the noble bard and charge into the thick of things, grab them by the shoulders and say, we're getting out of here, and then Dimension Door 500 feet the other direction. That is an easy use case to say, all right, that is in encounters, that will come up. This will be good there, out the gate. Secondarily, though, if we're looking at encounter-specific ones, the ones that I sort of preface this all with, there will be encounters where positioning is very crucial as far as controlling environments. So I like battle maps and encounters that are sort of different game modes, if you will. So like King of the Hill, for example, where you have to control and defend a specific location from waves of monsters. I think that's really fantastic D&D. And if you haven't run alternative than kill them all monsters encounters, I highly recommend it. Just play like 10 rounds of Halo at random and use their game modes, and you will have actually a really fun time in D&D if you use the kind of mechanics that other games do to frame encounters. It's really fun. Dimension Door is really good in those environments in that you can get to important places very quickly, instantaneously. For a 4th level spell slot, you just are where you need to be. Even in kill or be killed encounters, this puts you and the ranged person that's doing lots of damage in the most advantageous height positions you can possibly see. This puts you in the best possible, safest possible environment where there can be as much cover as you need, as where there can be as much as is available, as much distance as you need from people on the ground. If you're in just like a very large spruce forest, teleport 100 feet up onto one of the highest spruces and rain fire from the skies should you desire, right? This is, you have the best spot on the map for a 4th level slot with one buddy. Granted, because everyone doesn't get to move with you, that spot doesn't necessarily stay the best spot, because often having safety and security of your friends near you, having the ability to be like, oh yeah, the paladin can lay on hands me in worst case scenario, that goes down if you put yourself across the ravine.
Yeah. It's
like the druid turning into the bat and flying off into the darkness. That druid could be dead in 15 minutes. We don't know. But it is really useful at getting advantageous positioning that can be a way of saving HP and a way of getting advantage on attack rolls. You can put yourself behind enemies and get flanking and attack from unseen places. There's a lot of positional based map dependent things where this spell will shine.
Cool. All right. How about out of combat?
So out of combat, there are really like a plethora, like near infinite uses of this. It's a 500-foot teleport. That's always going to be good. If getting into buildings, heist missions are the first thing on my list. This is a spell I want to pull off some really crazy hijinks heist, like breaking into a dwarven vault or some garbage. It's also nice that it doesn't necessarily solve the problem all on its own. You have, like, if you are dimension dooring, for example, into said dwarven vault, you're inside of it, but you're only you and one other person. Without something like a bag of holding, there's only so much loot you can take. So you can still use that as a tool to break into the vault. You can still use that as a tool to facilitate part of the mission, but you still also need to maybe break the safe door. You now have a person on the inside to help. You now have a people that can be in odd positions. If you're infiltrating a castle, if you're infiltrating just enemy bases, generally speaking, this is great for that. Dropping down a rope is an easy example I mentioned earlier. But on top of that, just teleporting across a chasm and dropping a rope or dropping a drawbridge. Easy peasy. This can be a similar effect to flight. And it's a 4th level spell that does that. It also doesn't give you permanent access to flight, though, so you now have a very clear gated uses of it. You very clearly say, all right, I'm going to do this now, do the thing. I do it powerfully. I do it over a large distance, and I like that. I like that it still allows for mundanity to have a place in the game. I like that it still allows for and sort of encourages working in cool, wacky hijinks, making everyone feel important and useful. This is just a tool that goes alongside all of that.
Yeah, I think it's well suited at 4th level.
Oh, for sure. I don't think it could be higher level. I think at that point we're looking at magic that's a bit too powerful for just a teleport to be good. I also think this would be a bit much at 3rd level for the game to be like, all right, we have fireball and dimension door, so the game's going to crack wide open from all perspectives. It's nice that there's a little bit of a break. But there are also going to be a lot of tables where like dimension door doesn't ever come up. People don't take it. They're not interested in it. And you're not going to necessarily have to worry about, well, my players can teleport 500 feet. How do I handle that? There will be some tables where you will, but that's not going to be everyone.
Yeah, well, all right. Let's talk about that a second. As a dungeon master, let's say you got a couple of people with dimension door, and yeah, they can teleport wherever they want. How do you what do you do about that?
Those games get wacky. So in environments of really high magic with lots of teleporting around, lots of like big jumps, I think even like just leaping 300 feet or 100 feet is still in the realm of like, yeah, this is mobility that's kind of warping how the game is played. You're going to want, as a DM, unconventional environments. You're going to want to conceivably start using different magic to combat this that isn't really in the rules. I would recommend things like teleportation anchors, which is basically the premise of if you teleport within a distance of it, you instead teleport to it. So you can kind of create spaces that are teleportation free without it necessarily being, oh, teleportation is just off the table entirely. This can be really handy if you like have the ideas coming up for a specific kind of encounters and arcs that would be heavily interfered with by this. So like if you have a big villain that you want to show off their lair, but you don't want the players just to break in and steal their big bad evil items, you can give them something like that to sort of mitigate it and have it feel somewhat organic within the scope of the game, and even add a kind of puzzle that if they want their teleportation activated again, disabling that's going to be of the utmost importance to them, and they can figure out different ways and means of doing so. Beyond just saying it doesn't work here, creating dynamic environments can just be really cool playgrounds. Play with monsters with fast fly speeds if you're going to be doing this. Play with monsters that can get to spaces in interesting ways, but you can do 3-tiered battle maps that are going cross planes should you desire. You can be doing things where like people are teleporting between floors of buildings to grab different things and teleporting back to other spots. It becomes very high magic, marvelly nonsense, incredible, flashy, brilliant bullshit. But it can be really fun and really wild if done well. This is the kind of stuff that you see in like Planescape or Planescape, or what's the interdimensional traveling multiplanar
Spelljammer.
Yeah, Spelljammer. That's definitely what I was thinking of. That's the kind of nonsense you tend to see there. And it can be really fun, especially when people have rampant access to it. So kind of just embracing it and saying, yeah, let's go crazy. There's dozens of places you can go in those 500 feet, all with different options and things and threats. And those things and threats can follow you is a cool way to handle it. Even having just monsters getting abilities that they teleport next to a creature that teleported. That is a pretty cool way to be little hunter monsters that attack magical creatures. And it's a way that you can sort of directly say, here are the consequences to doing these things. You can still do it, but there will be ways that I sort of interact with you so that you are challenged to use other tools when able. All in all, it's a really fun game experience if you do get the opportunity to do it. If you do play a high teleportation kind of magic game, it will be a lot and it will be difficult to track, but it is very fun.
Yeah, I'm being reminded right now of those conjuration spells we keep talking about.
Yes,
but
instead of monsters, you're tracking entire realms of existence.
The picture you paint, though, is I really hope I live to see a Dungeons and Dragons-esque movie where they do this really well.
It's hard, but yeah, absolutely. I hope they do too. It's super cool.
Sam, you got any closing thoughts?
Yeah, it's a 4 out of 5 spell. Let's give it a rating. Why not? I love giving things ratings. This is a spell that you'll have to think about if a player takes it as a DM. This is a spell you'll be like, all right, some puzzles and problems are going to have to be different if I don't want Dimension Door to automatically solve it. At the same time, I love it. I think the utility and power behind it is very high, but it definitely isn't going to be for everyone. There are going to be people that don't necessarily love spending an action to just move. It doesn't necessarily feel often like, oh, why would I want this? This doesn't do any damage. It doesn't do any status effects. This doesn't change or control people's minds. This just moves me. That doesn't seem that exciting, but it can be. And if you break it out into the world and start thinking about it in 3-dimensional space and weird new plans and hijinks you can get up to with it, it's really fun and very powerful.
Sure. Yeah. All right, everyone. That was Dimension Door, and thank you, Sam, for going through that with me, and thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.